Reliable Copy Products is proud to be the exclusive dealer in Northwest Florida for Kyocera office equipment. Reliable Copy Products has been committed to providing professional, personalized service for the last 35 years. They understand that the right equipment does not always fall within today's budget requirements, so they offer several options for the equipment you need today for the growth you expect tomorrow. Call James Smothers at 784-6601, 784-6601. Reliable Copy Products on Harrison Avenue, just north of Bay High School.
Experience a higher level of service. David Adamson Designer Jewelry has been providing you the very best of fine jewelry and repair in Lynn Haven for over 32 years. David has added Amber Anderson and Russ Klinger, names you've known and trusted in PCB for years with your fine jewelry and watch needs. Find that one-of-a-kind engagement ring, that special anniversary gift, or something colorful just for you. Amber and Russ will find it or build it for you, serving Bay County and beyond in Lynn Haven at the corner of Ohio Avenue and 9th. David Adamson Designer Jewelry.
There is a cat overpopulation issue in the Panama City area, and these cats suffer so many hardships and illnesses, it's heartbreaking. Most are easily treated if caught in time.
Upper respiratory issues have been the biggest ones this year. This causes eye infections that may result in ruptured eyes and even blindness. We also see broken legs, resulting in disability and even amputation. A vision-impaired cat with limited mobility has a grim existence on the street.
Every day, Hillary and her team at Kibbles and Cover's Animal Welfare Group are on the front lines of the cat overpopulation issue. Your team has been an incredible asset to the community and a voice for the voiceless.
It is a constant battle. The message we need to get out there is to spay and neuter. Whether it be your pet or community stray, TNVR helps tremendously in many, many ways, overpopulation being number one.
Follow Hillary Slayton on Facebook and be a part of the solution to the feline overpopulation issue in Northwest Florida.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WFieldQ Port St. Joe. Powered by Panama City Toyota. ESPN Northwest Florida. Broadcasting from the CBC Construction Studios.
Are you ready? Okay, let's begin.
Trip. The Afternoon Underdog Trip. Live and local. Inside the Talk House.
Unleash the dragon.
On the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
What's going on, Northwest Florida? You are now in the doghouse riding along with the Afternoon Underdogs. And this studio is brought to you by CBC Construction. You can go to cbcconstruction.com and get yourself a job. You can also call them at 850-747-3815 for all your construction needs. This is Braves Country, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. The Braves' next game right here on the air is going to be tonight against the Cincinnati Reds, and that's going to be a big one for the Braves. Need to kind of keep on stacking up the wins, hit a little buzzsaw in the LA Dodgers, but at least got a win. We'll have more on the Braves in a little bit, but cover starts for the Braves tonight at 6 o'clock for a 6:15 first pitch. We're streaming live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitch. You can like and share the Facebook feed and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also download the app and register. Just go to your Google Play Store or your Apple Store, type in 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. I'm David Hayes along with Coach Brian Haddad and the great, the wonderful James Fife. You're also great and wonderful. Didn't want to take anything away from you, but I think the word coach embodies all of that. If you have
truth by omission.
If you have the prefix of coach attached to your name, I think you are a wonderful person. I have been seeing some, I didn't have this planned at all, but I have been seeing some of these Facebook statuses, social media statuses, where it's like talking about you're not really a coach if you're just out there collecting talent and putting it together. And I was like, that's actually, you're not a good coach, I think is what it was trying to get at. I mean, for youth sports, I think it's a good principle, right? Like, I don't need to go out and get everyone, whatever. My goal as a youth coach is to take what we've got and do the best with it and try not to have the kid hate the sport by the end of the season. Well, if he signs up again next year or wants to play next year, then we've done our job.
Well, that's where it's difficult particularly when it relates to youth sports.
Right.
there are different metrics that you can gauge success by. I mean, it can be, literally wins and losses in your little league and whatever like that. And that is important. You do want to, teach people how to do work necessary to win. But, you can do that. Like in Little League, maybe the arms aren't as accurate. You could do that by taking a lot of pitches and taking a lot of walks and not kind of develop a batter and things like that. So, to me, it's more about trying to give kids the fundamental skills to where they can continually improve when it matters, which is later. But again, that's a little harder to measure in the short term. So, yeah, there's a lot of different things to it. I wouldn't say that someone who goes out and compiles talent, because that brings different issues in and of itself, because now you're having to manage egos, playing time, a lot of different things that are that takes a heck of a lot of skill to be able to do that well. Right. And so I wouldn't belittle it, but it is different. Obviously you would love to just homegrown everybody like that, but that's not it. But I will say, piggybacking off of that with a terrible segue, I did see a little bit of breaking news literally right as we came on the air. The dun, 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 dun.
I guess we'll just kick it to the curb, because kicker Justin Tucker has been released by the Baltimore Ravens, and that's not a surprise. I mean, obviously, if you play quarterback, it might be a little bit of a different situation.
Sure.
I'm not even going to throw Lamar Jackson's name into that, because obviously he plays for the Ravens. That's the literal only correlation there. But we had the situation with Deshaun Watson. He was able to, off of just about the same, maybe a little bit less accusations than Justin Tucker. I don't have the numbers floating around in my head right now, but if he played a different position, maybe, the Ravens try to figure it out. But not only is all of these accusations and alleged, situations going on, but he also wasn't that good, or as good as
I was
what
going to
he's
say,
normally
that almost gave them license to make it easier.
Yeah.
If it weren't for that, it might be more, what are you doing? You're putting this in the hands of a rookie. Yeah. Maybe he had one of his worst seasons with us, but his worst season might be better than most people's best. But certainly with the accusations and everything, I think it gave them some cover to make this decision. I think once they drafted a kicker, it was like, this is coming. So it's not that it's shocking per se, but it's still, you're talking about a guy who's easily one of the 5 best players at his position in NFL history, I think you could argue. Justin Tucker.
I mean, and one of the best all time when we're talking about just the statistics coming down to accuracy.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I would put him, I think, top 5 kickers all time right now. I think definitely. So yeah, it's always going to be a little bit weird when, an all-time great doesn't necessarily choose their exit. It's chosen for them. I'll be curious to see what he wants, if he wants to keep kicking, because look, we see every year there's no shortage of teams that want a kicker, and it's not like, look, sorry guys, it's not like you have to keep yourself in primo shape to be a kicker.
Right.
Sebastian Janikowski. But, he's a guy who could just sit there and float, and do whatever, and then all of a sudden, somebody gets injured or somebody misses, 3 field goals in week 11, and all of a sudden somebody brings you in on a free agent deal. You're ready to go.
Yeah. So, I don't know how much this move surprises me at all. But I will say that it'll be interesting to see how the other 31 teams end up doing here with Justin Tucker. Do they wait to see how the court proceedings are going to go? Or does it end up happening how you're mentioning, where middle of the season their kicker gets injured, or he's shanking to the left or to the right, or he's got the yips or whatever it may be, and then all of a sudden it's Justin Tucker to the rescue? Because we know when it comes down to it, the NFL is willing to overlook some things in order to win games. And it's not necessarily the Shield that's doing that, but the teams, even though they're underneath that umbrella. And we'll have to continue to see, what kind of legitimacy these, I don't know, are we calling these charges, or are we calling these civil lawsuits?
Right.
I don't know which direction
that will certainly play into it. That's why I think it would be later in the season. But, also the schedule he keeps. I remember when the Titans picked up Gary Anderson, and I think I want to say the deal was he would come in on Thursday. Like, he wasn't even around the team. He would. I mean, but he was.
What's up, boys?
He was another all-time great, but that was part of his deal. He would kind of come in on Thursday and go through Sunday, and then he'd be gone for 3 more days, and Yeah, he was a kicker, so nobody really cared.
Yeah, nobody really noticed. Like, where's Gary at?
Right, it's not like you're developing his game.
Right.
So he had some kind of deal like that where I think it was like he came in Wednesday, but it was something like that to where he wasn't there the whole time and everybody was fine with it. So, I mean, there's a lot of ways you can do this with kickers.
Everyone always talks about the backup quarterback, but man, that job of a kicker and a punter. Actually, I think I'd rather be a punter than a kicker.
Everybody makes fun of them until they need them.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. Because you miss one of those kicks, and now you're going to be on the wrong side of the lore of which comes to your team. So, as a punt, though, you get a couple block. No one's really, they're going to be like, the punter sucks, but they probably don't even know your daggum name at that point. I think I'd rather be a punter than a backup quarterback or a kicker. But then I guess the finances will have something to say with that. James, you're kind of chuckling back there. What position would you like?
I'm just thinking of you being a Titans fan, me being a Titans fan, Brian being a Titans fan. We know our punter's name. We always know our punter's name because we use it.
Yeah, they're on the field more than anybody else.
That's a great point, James. Oh, you are always on time with those. 850-215-6290 is the number to call or text. Shout out to one of my favorite underdogs, Nick Clark, for riding along with us this afternoon. He's actually a St. Louis Blues fan, and we were watching some basketball and some hockey together over at my buddy Dalton's, along with my friend Terry last night. Fun watching those games, but then we played a little Madden afterwards, a little 2v2, and me and Nick were actually able to beat Dalton and Nick. But shout out to you, Nick. Shout out to my mom. She's listening. Love your mom. Chef Ross, Jack Patterson, and Caveman Rick. Thank you guys so much for joining and riding along with us this afternoon. Again, 850-215-6290 is the number to call or text. It is Monday, which means we're going to be doing our best and worst of the sports weekend. So you can either text those into us at 850-215-6290, or you can get on the Facebook post, add me as a friend on Facebook, David Hayes, and then comment on the Facebook post telling us your best and worst of the sports weekend. Next Monday will be a little bit different. Coach Brian is going to be over there in Viva Las Vegas, and so I think I'm going to put a status out. What bet should Coach Brian Haddad make? Because he does not bet on phones or any of that stuff.
No.
He has to be at a book.
I have to make it difficult for myself.
Yes.
I have that addictive
Smart
gene.
man.
But depending on if Sunday night is good for me in Vegas, we may open it up to bets that I will lay.
Bets.
Yeah.
That is plural.
So in other words, the likelihood is one bet, but
but we'll see how Sunday goes. I'll tell you what, Saturday went amazing, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. James, how was your weekend, my friend?
Had a good weekend. Got a couple more beehives down on the ground, so happy with that.
So while other people are trying to install bees onto their property, you're taking them down?
Yeah, I got, there was one of my neighbors had a swarm come into their barn, and up in the upper area they had some leftover boxes, and one of them went into a box, so I went up and got it.
So were you like the guy at the Arkansas, I don't know if it was baseball or softball game, where the guy just walks down there with no protective equipment at all and basically just pulls it down?
No, because these were already in a box, so they can be a little bit more aggressive, a little more protective. Yeah. But like when I used to go where I used to live in Kentucky, people used to call me all the time to go pick up swarms off of trees or the courthouse or anything. And for those, I never wore a whole lot of protection, because if they're just hanging out on a tree, they're usually really calm.
Wow.
Not me, buddy.
My brother Will, he's just started a little, it's not a colony, that's for ants. So
it's an apiary.
Apering, that's right. I remember
apiary,
this from the inside drive. But yes, he's starting his own he's becoming an apiarist.
An apiarist, yes.
Apiarist, and is going to be, hopefully I get a little bit of honey from that. And then also there's a guy I go to church with, Chris Atkinson. He does that as well. He posts a lot of really cool videos. Yeah, the cojones that you got to have for that. Do you ever get used to the bee stings?
Oh, you get kind of used to them. I probably got hit maybe 4 times moving this box around. Worst one was I got one right here in the armpit. That just making the up-down motions is not the funnest part of the day, but just kind of itchy now. It burns for, 3-5 minutes, and then it's just kind of gone until it starts itching later that night.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm a bad person. If I'm around bees, I don't call it an apering. I call it a slaughterhouse.
Well, who's the one getting slaughtered? More than likely you, unless you got some of that good old that spray right there.
Give me
Ohio
a little flamethrower.
Ohio Brad says, I'm from a town called Medina. Pasadena, Ohio, and it's where the beekeeping industry started. First commercial candle company in America.
Very cool.
AI Root or Owl Root, not entirely sure what that says. Don Owens chiming in. He says, how about the Gulf Coast Commodores baseball team beating Miami-Dade State College 10-8. We'll talk a little bit more about that. I'm going to try to see if we can get Coach Tyler Younger on the line with us before they head back down to Port Charlotte to take on Central Florida. That'll be this Friday for a 4 p.m. first pitch. But, of course, congratulations to our Gulf Coast State College Commodores. Lots of great things happening in high school baseball, high school softball. That were edging towards the postseason there, and got a lot of great things going on here in our local community, local high school sports. The 151st Kentucky Derby. Journalism was the favorite, but sovereignty reigns supreme. Set a new record with all sources betting handle of $234.4 million for the race, and then $349 for the entire racing card, which is insane. I don't know if you got to watch any of the other races. I only watched one other one. It was the 11th race, the turf race, and they were like 6 wide horse-wise heading into the finish line, man. It was a great race. I thought the Kentucky Derby was a great race. Tuned in right on time for that. Love watching them run in the mud. I think that's a lot of fun. What were some of your takeaways from the Kentucky Derby? I did not make any bets on it. I deleted the Twin Spires app a while back, and I didn't feel like putting any money into it.
So we were busy in the shop, but I had it on, and I always laugh because the Derby is a 6-hour broadcast for essentially a 2-minute race.
Yeah.
But there's a lot to it. Obviously, there's a big undercard. They do a lot of great packages because most people watch the Derby. About 80% of that watches the Preakness, and about 40% of that watches the Belmont, unless you have a Triple Crown chance, right?
Yeah.
So they do a lot to let you know who the jockeys are, who the horses, who the owners are. Good packages, kind of the way that WWE does to let everyone know,
right.
Casuals,
get
what's
them caught
going
up
on.
to speed.
So I like that, and I was watching the best that I could. I'm a bad person. I kind of like that, kind of the idiots out there and their suit coats and shorts, and then the dresses with the stupid hats have to slog around in the mud. I'm just a bad person for that.
I was noticing that the other day. I like noticing that Saturday too. Like, oh man.
And look, after they've had enough mint juleps, they don't care. But I always like watching the Derby. I think it's the perfect length race to me, and I really love the history of it. Obviously, I think this was the 151st running this year.
Yeah.
I will say, though, I do think that because, American Pharoah takes the Triple Crown in 2015, that was the first time in, I think, 37 years.
Yeah, it was a while.
And then Justify gets it 3 years later, so it doesn't feel special the way it did after so long.
But the 70s were like...
But the 70s did the same thing. So Secretariat was the first horse in 25 years to win. Mm-hmm. And then 4 years later, Seattle Slew win, and then Affirmed won.
Yeah.
The next year, but then we were 37 years from that. So it does kind of happen like this. But I do think horse racing in general would benefit from a longer build-up to another potential Triple Crown because that brings in the casuals.
Yeah.
And 2015, like I remember we got close with Big Brown and we had a couple other horses along the way. But then when American Pharoah did, it was a huge thing. And it was kind of like, oh, everything we were watching for just happened. So I do hate that. But I loved the race. We last Thursday we did a little bit on it like that where James had the perfect horse. I mean he was smart. He took the chalk, but Flying Mohawk was perfect for James.
Flying Mohawk that
was one of the horses.
I know that. I was
I'm just saying it was a perfect pick. I went with American Promise, and American Promise went out very fast and did not finish very fast. But it was a great race. They were extremely fast in the slop.
Oh, incredibly fast for that track.
The pace was incredible for a sloppy track. I was really impressed by that because I think Secretariat's record's like 159.4.
Something like that.
And they ran 203 in the slop. That was quite a fast race. I loved it. I thought it was a great race. I thought Sovereignty and Journalism both ran a great race. Sovereignty just made the move at a better time. It was a good race.
I thought we were going to see a lot more, slipping and loose footing and horses bumping into each other just because of the conditions of the track. Nobody really doing anything.
Fairly clean release.
But yeah, it was fairly clean on the whole thing. The only thing I really saw was right at the gate, one of the horses on the inside, one of the first 3 gates just kind of came across the front of the field. But after that, it was pretty clean on all aspects. So that was a lot of fun on the race. And I got a good stat for you guys. Yeah. All 19 horses that were in that race, all related to Secretariat.
Yes, I did see that as well.
Pretty cool story. Because I saw that about an hour before the race actually started, and then it just kind of started going everywhere on social media. You couldn't go anywhere without scrolling and seeing that. But yeah, that's one of the coolest stats, I would say. Also,
and then I saw that Jason Worth owned a horse in the race too.
I think that was Flying Mohawk.
Was it?
I gotta
go look that up now.
Yeah. He was there. I saw he was walking out with a horse. I saw, so it was pretty cool.
Well, NBC Sports reported an average of 17.7 million viewers across NBC and Peacock, and that made that the largest television audience for the Derby since 1989. So obviously, it's always a highly anticipated and
I used to be able to tell you based on the year who won it. I can't remember now.
Well, you could just do a little study, and we can get in there like we.
I'll press the Google button.
The number 1 draft picks when you were on the inside drive with Ryan and I. But yeah, it was a great race. It was a fun time. One of the things y'all were just talking about there, running in the slop, I don't think that I've ever watched a Kentucky Derby where there was like a wipeout, where there was a wreck. So there was a part of me, we're getting ready for a NASCAR segment. There was a part of me that wanted to see a little NASCAR action, but then I'm like, I hate that because these are animals that they're riding on, and someone is going to get hurt. Have you ever witnessed a spill in the Kentucky Derby?
Not in the Derby, but at other racetracks, I have seen them.
Yeah, spills, and when they pull up too, like I still can see Big Brown pulling up in the Belmont, and that was awful. But
what did he do? Fall all the way back?
No, he pulled up, and I mean, he was. A lot of people thought he was going to be the horse that took the Triple Crown, and I can't remember what happened. He may have had to get put down after that. I'm trying to remember.
He broke the leg on the last one.
Yeah,
literally put him down.
He pulled up.
It
wasn't even halfway through, but you could see him pull up, and it was bad. But yeah, I can't remember if they put him down right away or it was pretty soon thereafter. I think, unless I'm confusing it with another horse. But I know Big Brown pulled up in the race, and that was terrible to see. But.
Well, we got a lot more to talk about. Maybe we'll dive back into the Kentucky Derby later on this afternoon. If you guys have any thoughts on that particular topic, of course, you can always call or text in 850-215-6290. Next, we're going to be taking some left turns with Chris Gollin filling in for RJ Starcevic, and we are excited to find out who won that race because I can promise you, Coach Brian is going to be excited. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs here on ESPN Northwest Florida.
ESPN Northwest Florida. It's the Coach James Hale Show.
Yes, we do. We got a winner. Good morning.
This is Coach O's at Russ Fight.
Oh, my God. Coach O.
We're down here in Orlando, and we won the individual bracket, and now we got to go against the winner who won the team bracket for the overall.
Orlando, New Jersey.
Yes, Orlando. I was looking on that.
Weekday morning 7 to 9, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with Monday's weather forecast. Sunny the rest of the day with temps near 78 and a wind 10 to 15 miles per hour. Clear skies tonight, a calm wind and a temperature of 65. About the same tomorrow, around 82 with mostly sunshine and a wind around 8 miles per hour coming out of the southeast. A variety of mostly clouds and light sprinkles Wednesday, a light breeze and quite warm around 80. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
Want to experience the ultimate car wash? At Tommy's Express, you'll love our open and bright tunnels, easy loading, flat belt conveyor, unlimited membership, and free vacuums and mat washers. Try us for free. Text WASH 415 to 86697 to send our best wash, The Works, directly to your phone. You'll love the sudsy clean, ceramic wax, underbody flush, spot-free rinse, and tire gloss. Experience the difference and visit Tommy's Express today. Offer valid to new guests only. By participating, you consent to receive promotional and information text from Tommy's Express. Message and data rates may apply. Message frequency varies.
For the 2025 Atlanta Braves, it's time to dial in, which means every game means a little more.
First pitch, ground ball right side. Diving stop by Ozzie. Got him. Whoa, what a play by Albies.
Tonight, the National League homestand continues for Matt Olson and the Braves as they kick off a series against the Cincinnati Reds.
The Reds are coming to town to take on the Braves. Coverage begins at 6 o'clock. First pitch, 6:15. Your home for the Braves on the Gulf Coast, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Broadcasting from the CBC Construction Studios. Pound the like and crush the subscribe. Follow us on social media for the latest sports news, scores, and updates. Keeping you in the game. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs, ESPN Northwest Florida.
It's an absolutely gorgeous Monday here in Panama City Beach, Florida. We're broadcasting live here from the CBC Construction Studios. You can give them a call at 850-747-3815 or visit them at cbcconstruction.com for all your construction needs. Also, they might be hiring, so go over there and fill out an application. The great T-shirt giveaway from 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. How about a congratulations and a round of applause to Quentin Lemon. He won a 104.3 ESPN T-shirt by opening up the app and just smashing the enter contest button. Up next, we're giving away a Mountain Dew T-shirt from Buffalo Rock on the app. Friday morning, the Coach James Hale Show has your chance to win a 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida T-shirt. ESPN Northwest Florida app available at Apple Store, Google Play, or click the icons on ESPNPC.com. Next, filling in for RJ Starcevic, a great friend of ours. We'll have him back next Monday, but Chris has done a great job filling in for RJ. Chris Gollin, my friend, how's it going?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Oh, we're doing absolutely fantastic. What part of the country do you hail from? Where are you at?
I am in a little city called Flagler Beach. I'm about half hour, 45 minutes north of Daytona.
Yeah, there you go. Right over there kind of by St. Augustine, right?
Yeah, right about halfway between those two, Daytona and St. Augustine.
Hey, there you go. Well, Chris, great to be on with you this afternoon. Give us your best and worst of the Cup Series race over there at Texas.
Well, I'd say my best. There was one moment that really stood out to me where I was really on the edge of my seat, and that was Michael McDowell's amazing, really his whole run toward the end there to try and get that win, but that incredible block that he tried to make on Joey Logano just really put it all on the line for the win there. And then for the worst, I'd say one moment was when Josh Berry lost it from the lead there in stage 2. That was certainly disappointing to see. And another one was when Hocevar squeezed Ryan Preece up into the wall, causing that incident in the final stage. That was a little unfortunate, especially with how fast both those two cars were throughout the day.
Yeah, and Hocevar having the pole through the weekend and then just kind of giving it up there. Give us your recap, Chris, from the Worth 400.
Well, I'd say the green flag runs were not maybe the most thrilling that we've seen out of any track this year, but for Texas, it's certainly an improvement over how the racing was in some recent years. And there were a lot of exciting moments. You could tell these guys were driving on the edge. The track was really difficult to manage. You heard guys talking about it being a bit of a one-groove situation. And so while there weren't the most highlight reel moments in the race out of any maybe this year, I certainly appreciated that you could tell the drivers were, like I say, just right on the edge. And you got a winner who you might not have been expecting until late in the going, which for me is always a point toward a race being exciting.
And there you go, and it was exciting, at least for 380-odd million Americans, but we have one American in here, and Coach Brian Haddad, who is not so happy with the winner. He's not a big fan of Joey Logano, if you didn't pick up on that last week.
We talked about it last week a lot.
I thought about that.
You know what it is Chris, is I willed this into existence with my exuberance at his failure last week. Yeah, this was my fault, America. I apologize.
Yeah, I mean, I think that must be it. But, boy, quite the rebound there from being scored with the last place finish to coming all the way back the very next week.
Crazy.
How did Joey manage to secure that victory, but he only led 7 laps? I mean, I guess that is the sport of NASCAR, but what, from your perspective, Chris, tell us how he managed to secure that victory.
Well, I think he did something where when, it wasn't apparent throughout a lot of the race that he was going to have a dominant car, clearly with him only leading 7 laps. But what he did do is he stayed in position, and he never let himself get too far back. He never lost track position to too high of an extent. And then at the end there on the final restart, he avoided getting caught up in a 2-car battle. He cleared himself as quickly as possible and allowed himself, by doing that, to just pull away where neither Ross Chastain nor Ryan Blaney had time to catch up to him. So he was there where he needed to be and let others make mistakes in front of him. And he knew exactly how to execute when he did get that opportunity in the closing laps.
You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. We've got NASCAR rider Chris Gollin on the line with us. Chris, give me 2 winners and two losers from the race at Texas Motor Speedway.
Well, my first winner is one you could theoretically put in either category, but I'm going to say this is a win for Spire Motorsports as an organization. All around. The pole for Carson Hocevar, the near win for Michael McDowell, and Justin Haley showed some good speed throughout the day, finished solid 15th. Certainly they didn't get all the results they might have wanted, but I think the speed there is really hard to argue with. And then Penske, 2 weeks in a row with a win. All 3 cars were fast in Sunday's race. And this is a point in the season we're not used to seeing them, performing on all cylinders the way they are. Yeah, for 2 losers, I think one has to be Kyle Busch. He had an opportunity for a top 5 there, which he needed a lot, and lost it. And he lost it in the turn. He hit the bump, spun out, gave up what could have been a great finish for the A team. And then another loser would be Brad Keselowski, who just an abysmal week and an abysmal year. Nothing is going right for the 6 team. And he was in position to maybe get that first top 10 on the year.
Over 50 appointment.
Wasn't able to come up with it.
Give me a driver who had low expectations but ended up with a very impressive finish.
Well, I think there's one really obvious one. That's Eric Jones.
Yeah.
Coming in 5th. Legacy Motor Club has not had the speed on intermediates this year. So to see him get shuffled up with a little bit of good luck with the caution coming out during pit stop, but then remaining there, that was great. And you know what? Also, Ricky Stenhouse in 6th, John Hunter Nemechek in 8th. Well, a couple honorable mentions there.
Yeah, I love that Sunny D card that Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is racing in.
Yeah.
On the flip side of that, Chris, give me a driver who had high expectations but ended up with a disappointing finish.
Well, that's an easy one. I mean, Denny Hamlin made it 73 laps. He was someone that was running. He started, I think, relatively well, if memory serves, but was slowly falling back through the field. And then that engine failure for him to finish 38th and last. I mean, really glad to see him get out of the car okay as the smoke started to come in. But, I mean, that's pretty much just a worst-case scenario week for Denny.
That is my guy, too. Mainly picked Denny Hamlin. I was a Dale Jr. fan growing up. When I started getting back into NASCAR, my favorite number is 11, so I just stuck with the driver who's got a little bit of a loud mouth to him and also is a heck of a race car driver as well. Now, I did not put him up. I did actually. I had I put, I think, $5 on Denny Hamlin to be the top finishing Toyota. Obviously, that did not come to fruition. However, I went with a long shots pick to win the race with Ross Chastain, and he finished about 0.4 seconds behind Logano. What does this finish for Ross Chastain indicate about his performance and strategy during the race?
Well, if you listen to Ross throughout the weekend, he said that he wasn't the most confident in the car, and that none of the Trackhouse guys were. He was coming in there, and they were really not in a position of strength to start the weekend. But you know what? They stayed with it. They made adjustments throughout the race that Ross said really benefited him. And he got into a really good rhythm with short run speed on those late restarts. It seems he was picking off one by one and got himself all the way up to second. With one more restart, I'm not entirely convinced that you might not have hit your long shot bet there with old Ross.
Yeah, my buddy Caveman Rick, I don't think he was on the air with us last Monday, but he actually had Joey Logano, and on his $5 ended up winning 105, which I'm sure makes Coach Brian even that much more happier. The race at Texas, Chris, marked the 9th different winner in the last 9 races there. What does this say about how competitive Texas Motor Speedway is?
Well, what I would say is the drivers still are not totally there as far as figuring out how the track is settling in following its repave in 2017. They're saying it's a single groove racetrack. And they're saying it's really hard sometimes to maintain control. You got that bump that took out a few people. So it seems to me like whatever notes the teams had about how Texas is going to evolve over the lifespan of this repave, it doesn't seem like it's playing out that way because the track's presenting challenges that drivers don't seem like they were fully expecting, like they were fully ready for. And that can be a little bit of an equalizer. And hey, you know what? Joey Logano, if you look back a few times over the years, has won at venues where it was their first time racing there. And what that tells me is that Joey thrives in the unexpected. So if that is the case, if Texas is throwing teams for a loop and giving them challenges they weren't anticipating, it only makes sense that Joey would succeed there.
Yeah, great point there. Now let's learn a little bit more about Chris before we dive into the Xfinity recap and our top 3 drivers, or his top 3 drivers rather, for the Xfinity and the Cup Series when they're going to be racing over there at Kansas. We got Chris Gollin on the line. He is a NASCAR writer, a great friend of RJ Starsvik. RJ is a great friend of the show, and any friend of his is a friend of ours. And Chris, you've done a great job. We appreciate you. But what got you into NASCAR?
Well, that's a great question. I got into it in about 2006 or so, and I'd say it was a combination of my dad putting on racing and me just kind of falling in love with it on the screen, and then good old Cars from Disney was like the final thing there. I was that age, Cars got me into it, and it was just off to the races from there, you might say.
Hey, there you go. Who is your favorite driver? Give me your favorite current driver and maybe all-time favorite driver if those two are different.
They are different. Currently, my favorite driver is Brad Keselowski, so you can imagine I'm having a lovely season. And my my all-time favorite is Jeff Gordon. He was the one I latched onto as a kid, and I followed him all the way to that storybook ending there and the Martinsville win. And, so, yeah, Jeff's my all-time favorite.
Coach, who's your favorite all-time driver in NASCAR?
Ooh, it's probably Smoke. I was a big Tony Stewart fan. I really liked him. So Junior was great. If you go way back, I loved Harry Gant running the High Line and all. But yeah, it's probably Smoke. He was my guy. Yeah.
All right,
that's a great thing.
Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was just saying that's a great pick, Tony Stewart.
Yeah, one of my neighbors, I think they were big Jeff Gordon fans, and so that just naturally gravitated me towards Dale Earnhardt.
Oh, sure.
And then, after the passing of Dale, then that kind of moved on or matriculated to Dale Jr.
So many racers race so many different kinds, but Tony Stewart always seemed to me to be the guy that if anything had a wheel and didn't even necessarily have to have 4 tires. If it had a wheel and a tire, he would race it, and I always loved that about him. So,
absolutely.
Well, Chris, give me a driver that you cannot stand. Who's your rival, or just a guy that you dislike?
Well, I'm going to go into the history books here because I don't want to, I still got to work with some of these guys in the modern day. So I'm going to say one guy that growing up always rubbed me the wrong way was the other Gordon, Mr. Robbie Gordon. Certainly no disrespect to the ability. I mean, he's another one that would be great in anything with a steering wheel on it. But he just, if you watched him, it kind of speaks for itself. He was a little over-aggressive sometimes, a little bit of a personality sometimes, and it just didn't really rub me the right way.
There you go. Well, let's talk about something that possibly does rub you the right way. What's your favorite track in all of NASCAR?
Well, I am incredibly biased. Growing up, since I was 6 years old, being right here within an hour of Daytona International Speedway. It was my introduction to live racing. I've been going to race since the 2007 Pepsi 400. It just the Super Bowl of racing being right here in my backyard has always been such an incredible privilege that I try not to take for granted. And I really do think the racing at Daytona is good enough to justify that pick too. So I got to go with the hometown track. I think I live 45 minutes away from the best NASCAR racetrack in the country.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to go to the race that actually Ricky Stenhouse Jr. won. So I guess that was 2 or 3 years ago. And we got to be back there behind the pit crews and just, wow. I mean, I was absolutely floored. I was amazed, so amazed at one point I'm, kind of looking ahead, and next thing you know, I'm getting ran over by a guy carrying a gas can, and that's when I learned, keep your head on a swivel at all times in pit road. If you could change one thing, Chris, about modern NASCAR, what would it be?
That's a really good question. I think the easy, obvious answer that people have heard a million times would be something with the playoff format. But I'm going to go a different direction, and I think it's time to introduce some initiatives to get Gen Z and after that Gen Alpha engaged. I would like to see maybe some student discounts to the races would be a fantastic thing to add in. But as we move into this new era of NASCAR, they're going to need to eventually rely completely on a wholly different fan base than the one that supported NASCAR during its prime. So I'd really love to see, and I'm not saying they're not doing any of that now, but I want to see them fully commit to appealing to the next generation and bringing them in and making the people like Joey Logano and Ross Chastain and Kyle Larson of today, make them the modern versions of the Jeff Gordon and Tony Stewart and Dale Earnhardt, where they're just household names that everyone knows and everyone's got an opinion on.
That was great, man. It was great to learn a little bit more about you as well, Chris. Give us a recap of what went down in the Xfinity Series over there at Texas.
Well, the Xfinity race, moral of the story is keep off the grass. They could have had that sign there if they'd wanted to, because people, it really in Xfinity and trucks, people who hit the grass very quickly regretted doing so. But you know what? Kyle Larson said he wanted to embarrass the field in Xfinity. I don't know if embarrass is the right word. He didn't win by all that much, but he certainly showed that he is Kyle Larson, and it's his world, and we're all living in it, because he performed on less than a week's notice, filling in for Connor Zilisch. And great runs at the end by people like Sam Mayer, Taylor Gray, Nick Sanchez, but what are you going to do? It's Kyle Larson. So it was an exciting race with a relatively predictable winner.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you get up there to the Cup Series and you have dominating success up there and you're on a team like Hendrick, and then you come down to the Xfinity Series, I think we can all I don't even think that – I guess when I'm thinking about Kyle Larson saying, I'm going to embarrass these guys, it's like, all right, well, that's like a big league pitcher going down to AAA and, fanning guys over and over. Like, good job, buddy, I guess. But, hey, you're still Kyle Larson, Mr. Hollywood over there. Let's dive into your top three for the Xfinity and the Cup Series when they get ready to race this weekend at Kansas.
Well, Xfinity has the week off, so it's actually going to be the Trucks and Cup this weekend at Kansas. But rolling with it just the same for Cup, I'm going to say the 2022 Kansas winner, Bubba Wallace, is a favorite of mine. Then a guy who has 5 out of his last 6 races at Kansas in the top 5, Denny Hamlin, as well as one who's almost a default pick at this point, the guy who won in the closest finish in NASCAR history at Kansas last year, Kyle Larson. And then for the Trucks, I'll say my top 3 are Corey Heim. Again, it's almost like the Kyle Larson of trucks. Just by default, you got to pick Corey Heim. And I'm feeling good about Chandler Smith and Grant Enfinger this coming week, given their recent history at Kansas. I think the numbers bode well for them.
All right, great stuff, man. Looking forward to that race. When you were first going down the list, I'm like, wait, Bubba Wallace, Denny Hamlin, and Kyle Larson are all running in the trucks. But, yeah, that's the Cup Series there. But so no love for Frankie Muniz, huh?
No, not quite yet, but certainly if you had to pick based on how hard they're trying and how much their heart is in it, it's hard to keep Frankie very far from the top of the list. Hoping to see a little bit of luck turn around for him.
I will say that it's very interesting listening to him in the spotter and the team's kind of conversations, and we'll see how his career keeps going. I think that it's pretty cool having a guy, like Frankie Muniz out there in the middle of the racetrack rather than being Malcolm in the middle. Chris, as always, thanks so much for your time, my friend. And anytime that RJ can't make it, if you're available, we'd love to have you on with us.
Yes, sir. I've had a lot of fun talking with you guys. I appreciate the opportunity. And, just thanks a bunch for having me.
Absolutely. That's Chris Gollin, ladies and gentlemen. Wonderful stuff there. Really like to learn a little bit more about him. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. Our traffic jam and trivia question is going to have to do with the Kentucky Derby. So you want to call in to win some great stuff. 850-215-6290. This is ESPN Northwest Florida.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Atlanta Braves play here.
Tonight, the Atlanta Braves continue their homestand at Truist Park.
Riley charges one up, soaring high into the heavens and disappearing into the seats.
It's the Braves versus the Cincinnati Reds. First pitch, 6:15. Listen to live play-by-play and a rich audio experience on your home for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast.
ESPN Northwest Florida. Good afternoon. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with Monday's weather forecast. Sunny the rest of the day with temps near 78 and a wind 10 to 15 miles per hour. Clear skies tonight, a calm wind and a temperature of 65. About the same tomorrow, around 82 with mostly sunshine and a wind around 8 miles per hour coming out of the southeast. A variety of mostly clouds and light sprinkles Wednesday, a light breeze and quite warm around 80. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Dreaming of sun-drenched beaches and a place to call your own in Northwest Florida? Or perhaps you're looking for the perfect investment opportunity. Since 1962, Anchor Realty Florida has been the trusted name in real estate across the Panhandle. Anchor Realty Florida brings unparalleled local expertise to your search for homes, lots, and investment properties. Don't just dream it, live it. Let Anchor Realty Florida anchor your reality. Visit us online at anchorfl.com. That's anchorfl.com.
CBC Construction is looking for a few good men. At CBC Construction, our greatest strength lies within our talented team. Join us and be a part of a dynamic company that values its people. We offer a tremendous opportunity to create a future for your family and the Florida Panhandle. CBC Construction is now hiring. Call us at 850-740-3815 or visit cbcconstruction.com to learn more. CBC Construction, be part of a winning team.
Now, we're live and local inside the CBC Construction Studios. He likes to lift weights in a parking lot and eat Weight Gainer 3000.
I'm really starting to feel out nasty.
David Hayes is part of the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida.
You're back in the doghouse riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. David Hayes, Coach Brian Haddad, and the great James Fife in the building with us. We've got a loaded hour number 2 coming up next. We're going to kick it off, per usual, with Steve Barnes, senior writer for therebelwalk.com. Then we'll have the PCB Hobby Takeover. Are we having Todd or Julia?
I'm not sure.
We're just going to figure it out.
Stick around and find out, folks.
Y'all find out for the PCB Hobby Takeover.
There's a tease.
Hey, but we do have Coach Brian Haddad in the building with us, so if you do have any great questions on cards, he specializes in Pokemon. No, I'm just kidding. Sports cards, and also you specialize in Star Wars stuff. Tell us a little bit about the stream that you guys put on.
Yeah, we actually, May the 4th be with you. You know, one day late, but... yeah, we actually did a stream last night on eBay Live where we had comics, we had toys, we had cards, and I mean cards from the 70s and new stuff. We even had 2 gold coins that Todd has from his own personal stash.
Oh, wow. That's PC stuff.
That he put out there. And so we had all kinds of stuff. We would typically be between maybe 60 and 80 in the room at any given time, but over 5,000 individual page views or, people who would come into the stream over the course of maybe 4 hours. So it was really cool. Really had a good time messing around. We actually had Tim, who's one of our coin streamers. He knows Star Wars, but not down deep like all of us in there. And so we were actually having kind of a fun time. We were letting Tim stream, and we were kind of enjoying when he'd get something a little bit wrong or awkward and all. Yeah. But it was great, and Tim was having a ball with it, and we were too. So great stream. We had a great time. Connected some people with some really cool collectibles as it comes to Star Wars. So it was a good time. It was a lot of fun.
Well, out of left field, this is Braves Country, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. The Braves' next game on ESPN is tonight, taking on the Reds. A.J. Smith-Shawver is going to be on the bump for the Braves, and he will be going up against... Who do they got tonight? They got oh yeah, that's right. How could I forget this? Brady Singer on the bump for the Reds tonight. 4-1, 3.24 ERA, and the Reds have been playing some pretty good ball. Chris Gollin, I was just asking him what other sports he's into. He's into baseball and does votes on weekly power rankings and stuff. So I'm going to give him an opportunity to talk a little baseball with us. But that's not what I was talking about being out of left field. My mind just kind of, when you first started talking, I was looking at our shirts. No, we did not plan this. Both of us have gray shirts on with black stripes, and I was thinking if we were trees, we would have to switch shirts because the line, you know how come on, man, don't kill me with the dead air.
Did you get bored and read Google one day and just find that out?
Just looking at how I've got much more stripes than what you do, and the rings of the tree that determines the age of the tree. So I was thinking,
my tree is dying.
You're a weeping willow, man.
My tree is stretching and falling down. That's what
Old man yells at tree.
Old man yells at tree. Oh, man. And the tone that you used that with, James, was absolutely perfect, as always. Our traffic jam and trivia question of the day. This is for your opportunity to win a 12-pack of Buffalo Rock, $25 to not the, but that boot store. And that'll do it. That's a pretty nice little prize package there. What horse and what year, was the last time a Florida-bred horse won the Kentucky Derby? What horse and when was the last time a Florida-bred horse won the Kentucky Derby? Now, a little fun fact with this particular question, not giving away the answer, but the state of Florida, all right, obviously overwhelming, the state that has produced the most Kentucky Derby winners. James doesn't even need the headset on, and he'll be able to answer this question. James, I've got a question for you. What state has produced the most Kentucky Derby winners?
I'm going to say Kentucky. After that, I'd say Pennsylvania's second.
That's where you're wrong. That's where you're. Now, this is again according to Google. So I would sometimes I take James's word over Google, but it's actually Florida with 6 of them.
I can believe that too. Lots of horse racing down here.
Yeah, I can totally believe that one. That was kind of wild. So our question today is: what horse and when was the last time that a Florida-bred horse won the Kentucky Derby? Now, James, I know you're a huge hockey fan, as am I. Brian, all sports. I don't know. There's not a sport. I mean, this man came in talking about
no
cricket
life.
this afternoon.
No life. Got it.
Yeah. No, but James, Winnipeg St. Louis last night. We've got some great series. That was the final series of the first round. Went to Game 7. I mean, you talk about 2 Game 7s side by side with Winnipeg St. Louis and then Golden State and Houston. And, I mean, the game that we got out of the NHL side of things with 2 overtimes, absolutely amazing. But take us through your eyes. What did you take away? What were some of your takeaways, your perspective from the game last night between the Winnipeg Jets and the St. Louis Blues?
So with me for that, the Blues dominated, controlled most of that game up until there was about a minute and a half left on the clock.
Right.
And when that minute and a half happened, I don't know, but a pumpkin came out of the Blues, and they just didn't have it after that point. They were in it, they were soundly in it, but they were not doing anything for a deep push. And then once they had that goal down by 1, once that Winnipeg was down by 1, they just absolutely pushed. And that goal with 1.6 seconds left, you can't script any better Game 7 hockey than tying the game with 1 second left so we can have some more free hockey to go watch overtime. First overtime, just a bunch of feeling out. Nobody really stepping up to do anything. Nobody taking hard hits. Everybody kind of what I like to call pong hockey, where you just see it kind of going back and forth, back and forth. And everybody just feeling everybody out. Somebody waiting for somebody to make a mistake. Now, you can do that, but it just makes for some kind of boring hockey. So the first overtime period, I watched it, but is the synopsis of that whole period. Now, once we get into the second period, I don't know if it was coaching or players, but somebody finally said, I'm bored with this. I'm going to go play hockey. And that's why we got a goal within the first 4 minutes.
Yeah, wow, what a game it was. And, I mean, is this St. Louis giving it up, or is this Winnipeg battling back and winning? I mean, it felt like in those last, they were up 3-1 with 2.5 minutes left. It felt like in that last minute or so, they were just throwing pucks at the net, which is exactly what you're supposed to do in that situation, right?
Yes, exactly. When you're down in that last minute and you're watching time tick, 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 you want to set up a play to get that open shot, but then again, you don't want to take so long that when you do get that open shot, if it's saved and, is a rebound, you've got a chance to put the rebound in, or if it's just a straight save, play stops, you've at least stopped the clock. So there's teams out there that get way too fanciful with that, and Winnipeg did not. They just said, okay, if you got the puck and you've got a semi-open shot, or if you've got a semi-screen, you just take it.
Yeah.
Because you've got to get the puck to the net to score the goals.
And that is a very true statement. And you got to get it behind that red line, don't you? 850-215-6290. What horse and when was the last time a Florida-bred horse won the Kentucky Derby? 850-215-6290. And we are down to the second round here in the world of hockey. And on the eastern side of things, we're going to get a series underway tonight. It's the Panthers and the Maple Leafs. The Panthers are at best odds to win the Stanley Cup right now, and I think they're the best team going right now. I mean, you got Washington, you got Winnipeg. Both of those teams were the best in their respective conferences, but I think the Panthers take care of business there against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and then the Hurricanes and the Capitals, which could be a tough one. But now that the Lightning aren't in the playoffs anymore, Coach Brian, there's this side of me that is really rooting, not a hard root, but just kind of, I would like to see Ovi win. But before we get to your comment on that, Michigan Eddie, you're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. What's going on, brother?
Go Blue Trucks, here's Irving Anthony. I'm reporting live to you from PCB Hobby.
Hey, let's go. It's going to be our first PCB Hobby takeover, and we'll do it all over again at 520.
Yep, just helping Emma out here. She's helping me out. Just met a nice New York Yankee gentleman and bought some stuff. We were talking about old Sparky Anderson and all that back with the 84 Tigers. And you know what? Who's got the best record in baseball right now? Who does?
It's got to be the Tigers.
Yeah, why would you be saying something like that if it wasn't Detroit? So it's got to be. It's got to be. Come on.
And you can't blame those stupid drums like they did in Houston and crap, because we're just kicking the crap out of everybody. Yep. The Padres, the Yankees, everybody, pal.
And, I mean,
I'm pumped up.
And to be honest, the AL Central, I mean, the Tigers, the Guardians, and the Royals all above 500. The Twins.
Best division in baseball besides the AL West, bar none, man.
Ooh,
all right?
That's the White Sox are in that division. I don't know if you've forgotten about that.
I'm not counting. Yeah, you always have a bottom dweller.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's fair enough.
But you got the Guardians. You got the Indians, not the Guardians. I'm not woke. Sorry, they're the Indians. It's like they're the Redskins. Anyway, then you got the Royals with Bobby Wood Jr. And all that. Then you got the Tigers. Then you got the NL West with the Padres, the Giants, who are playing awesome. Yeah. A surprise. And the Dodgers and Padres and all that, man.
D-backs are no slouch either.
Yeah, they're coming on, but the Tigers will beat them too. No worries.
No worries. Fair enough.
And the season
Detroit's in Colorado. Detroit's in Denver today. They play tomorrow. Off day today. Played tomorrow for I think a 3-game set at Coors Field, which I went when I was a cadet at the Air Force Academy. Yeah. So went there. So anyway.
Yeah,
I just hope we kick the crap out of the Rockies. I can't stand Colorado fans wherever they're from, except as they're from Colorado Springs and the Air Force Academy fans.
Well, I would
fans blow too. Oh, absinthe and whatever.
I would give you a little time to make your case for what in the world is going on with Michigan in the NCAA with this Sharon Moore 2-game suspension, but we're going to be talking more about that with Steve Barnes coming up in the next segment. So give us your sign-off, Michigan Eddie, because we are running up against a break and got to get ready for hour number 2.
All right. Go with Truck Series over here on Thursday. The only guy in the Florida Panhandle that has gotten kicked out of McNichols Arena in Denver for throwing an octopus. Go Red Wings, baby. They'll make the playoffs next year. I'm out. See ya.
Why does that not surprise? I know it doesn't surprise you.
Not at all.
James, does it surprise you?
Not really.
Not the least one bit. This man, where did he go?
Probably brought it with him.
He probably went out to the daggum and found a way to get to the coast somehow and went out there and caught it with a little squid rig or something like that. Michigan Eddie never fails to disappoint. The People's Caller right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. Hour number 2, we're going to kick it off with Steve Barnes. And Steve is going to be giving us his best and worst of the weekend. Plus, I wonder if he knows the answer to the trivia question.
Keep the game going with ESPN Northwest Florida. Just because you get out of the car doesn't mean the Sports Talk and Live play-by-play have to end. Just say, hey, Alexa, open ESPN Northwest Florida. From Michigan Avenue to the man cave, from the car to the kitchen, we've got you covered. Keep the game going. Hey, Alexa, open ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with Monday's weather forecast. Sunny the rest of the day with temps near 78 and a wind 10 to 15 miles per hour. Clear skies tonight, a calm wind and a temperature of 65. About the same tomorrow, around 82 with mostly sunshine and a wind around 8 miles per hour coming out of the southeast. A variety of mostly clouds and light sprinkles Wednesday, a light breeze and quite warm around 80. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
That boot store reminds you Mother's Day is just around the corner. Make it a Western Mother's Day by shopping that boot store. You'll find a huge selection of Western wear for the youngest to the oldest mother and at prices you can afford. Gift certificates are available too, so Mom can shop for herself. That boot store open Tuesday through Thursday, 9 till 5, Friday and Saturday, 9 till 5:30. That boot store next to Bill Bird Kia, 15th Street, Panama City. That boot store where God is good all the time.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-08388.
GSX Lynn Haven WVLQ Port St. John. Powered by Panama City Toyota, ESPN Northwest Florida. You found us inside the CBC Construction Studios. ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
Call in with your questions, hot takes, and rants at 850-215-6290.
I'm sure that most of you have used a dial telephone before.
The Sports Talk Monster.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of the Afternoon Underdogs. We're going to kick things off here with Steve Barnes in a second, but want to remind you guys about CBC Construction. They are the sponsor of our studios here. You can go to cbcconstruction.com or give them a call at 850-747-3815. If you're looking for a job, go to the website, or for any of your construction needs, go to cbcconstruction.com or call the number 850-747-3815. Atlanta Braves coming up after the Afternoon Underdogs cover, starting right after the show at 6 o'clock for a first pitch of 6:15. Going to be A.J. Smith-Shawver on the bump for the Braves. 1-2 2 with an ERA of 4.26, going up against Callaway Steve's favorite, Brady Singer, who's 4-1 with an ERA of 3.24, going over to the Reds after a trade with the Royals for Jonathan India. Now we're going to go over to the phone line. Steve Barnes, senior writer for theRebelWalk.com. Steve, my friend, give me your best and worst of the weekend.
Okay, best. Kentucky Derby. Not the race itself.
Okay.
But the atmosphere. I worked with a lady in Mobile, Heather, who worked for the governor of Kentucky, who got to be in the box way above, and she said that was terrible. She wanted to be downstairs in the infield. Leanne Herring, who you know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Former Miss Kentucky.
Yeah, she doesn't belong in no suite. She deserves to be wherever she wants to.
Exactly, and she's just like, it's the coolest thing. And I was going to write a column about the Grove at Ole Miss. It was probably about 10 years ago. And I just sent out feelers to a bunch of people saying, how would you describe it? And a friend of mine from high school, Amy Kendall, who's actually Amy Thibodeau now, Amy said, the Grove is the closest thing to the infield at the Kentucky Derby. So ladies, get your pearls, get your heels. Gentlemen, get your bow ties and your blazers. It's time to show the world how to do it. And that's what I watch for when I watch the Derby. I don't really care about the race.
And what do they do over there at Mississippi State, Brian? Is it overalls and for the men? And
You're a funny guy.
I'm just kidding. Steve, we'll move on here so I don't get my foot on my shoulders here. Steve, what about the worst of the weekend for you?
All right, Brian, remember last week I had a worst that I couldn't think of?
Yeah.
Came back to me.
Okay.
Brian Harsin, former Auburn coach, gets hired as offensive coordinator at Cal. Now, that's not the worst part. The worst part was the reasons that Cal gave. One was he has a dynamic offense.
Okay.
Did you watch Auburn when he was there?
Yeah. That's where.
And the second one was he is a great recruiter.
Did you watch the recruiting rankings?
Maybe they got dynamic and diabolical confused.
I don't think the guy can recruit me to drink free cold beer.
What about hot fried chicken, crispy fried chicken?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
He could recruit you to do that?
Oh, come on, it's fried chicken. Come on.
No one passes up on some good fried chicken. That is wild, though. Brian Harsin, who's, was in the SEC before he was there, he was at Boise State, right?
Yeah. And he followed on from Chip Peterson and all. But let me do something real quick, because earlier, apparently, I killed a horse who didn't die. I got confused. Big Brown did not get put down after that. He had pulled up, and they found something wrong with the shoe and everything like that. So Big Brown did not die in that, was retired after the Breeders' Cup and all that. Did have some injuries, but so apparently I killed a horse that did not die. I just wanted to correct that.
Wow, you're never going to be a vet in the state of Florida.
No, I'm not.
That ship has sailed. That ship has.
Well, I'll tell you what, my worst this week, I saw 2 mock NFL drafts for 2026 online. Okay, we don't even know the draft order.
Right.
But one of them had the Saints going first, which means they're either going to be terrible or they're going to have to trade up. Then they took Arch Manning, and the reason given was he's Archie Manning's grandson. Wow. If that was a good reason, don't you think Mickey Loomis back in the day would have taken Peyton or Eli?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the other one had Cleveland taking second and taking Arch Manning. Did they just draft 2 quarterbacks?
Steve, I'll go you one better.
Yes, they did.
I'll go you one better. I saw one that projected Cleveland trading up to the 1 to take Cade Klubnik.
Oh, my God.
So not only did they just draft 2 quarterbacks, but now they're going to trade away something to go get another one who is arguably not as talented as the two they just took.
Oh, and on top of
they had to trade away their one and probably a 2 and 3.
Yeah. Now these
six
mock
guys
drafts,
on your depth chart.
But I'll give them credit. They got me to click on it, and I think that was what they wanted.
Right, that's all they want out of the mock drafts. Because I mean, none of them. You can't even get that first round right. Half the time, it's hard to get the first pick. Sometimes. I will say this.
Well, you don't even know who's the draft order yet.
Right. That's another pretty important minor detail there. I'll also say this though: if Cade Klubnik is our top quarterback going into 2026, which looks like he could be. I mean, Doug Nussmeier. You go down the list of names, and you're like, we thought this last quarterback class was weak. What are we looking at here, Steve? Is there any other nuggets out there? Is there any other quarterbacks that you think could be making a move to be that top quarterback in 2026 at the NFL draft, regardless of team or anything like that, just as a prospect?
Well, first, I mean, Manning doesn't have to come out this year.
That's right.
He could stick back, and let's face it, his family has money. I'll spend another year in Austin. He can do that. But if I had to pick somebody, I'd say DJ Lagway. If he's going to come out of Florida, I think that guy. I think he's Deshaun Watson.
On the field, not off the field.
I was about to say, I'm sure DJ Lagway would love to hear that clip. So I think he's a Deshaun Watson. Which, I mean, on the field. But I don't know. I was never... At Clemson, I was overly impressed with him. But once the defense started fading away over there at Houston... Yeah, I mean, the guy was 1 game or 2 games over 500 as a starter. I was never overly impressed. Yeah. Absolutely impressed at Clemson. Hated it. As an Alabama fan, absolutely hated it. But then as he got into the league and teams started getting the film on, like by the time that the Browns were getting a hold of him, forget all of the off-the-field stuff. It was like, what are y'all doing? I don't care if his image was squeaky clean. I just didn't think that he was the quarterback to give up the farm for, as James would say. So I don't know.
This isn't much of
I'm just talking talent.
Yeah.
No. I mean, absolutely. I get where you're coming from.
Look, this isn't much of a reach, but watch Drew Aller at Penn State, because when he was considering coming into the draft for this year, there were a lot of people who were elevating him about at the same time they were bringing Dart up into that number 2 or number 3 conversation. And then he decided to go back to Penn State because a couple of the guys on the offense wanted to make a run at a championship. Watch out for Drew Aller. He could end up moving up the board as well.
I also saw something else I hate, the way too early top 25. Somebody had Penn State number 1.
I think they've got a real chance to be good this year. They lost a lot on the defense, but they do have a lot of those pieces coming back on offense. The problem is, and I hate saying it, but it's true, James Franklin's still there, and he's probably going to cost them a game or 2. And, I mean, if they can make it into the playoffs, they have a chance, but I don't know. This is probably their best shot, Steve, that I've seen in a while is this year. I mean, last year was good because they got a favorable draw, but this might be their best team they've had if they can, and they've got the defensive coordinator from Ohio State coming over, so you would think that would elevate them a little bit. But if they can plug a few holes there on defense, they may be a team to be reckoned with.
I would have liked them better last year if Abdul Carter was healthy, but I don't think he was. But he still went number 1, or he went to the Giants.
Yeah, he went 3.
And if that kid would have been healthy, I think it would have helped him a little bit.
Yeah, no. What do you make of the Lawrence Taylor not giving him 56? Phil Simms was saying, he'd love to see him take 11, and then, the Simms family started talking, and they said that he shouldn't do that. What do you make of that situation? And then I'll let Brian take over after you.
Well, I kind of like what Taylor said, pick your own number and make your own legacy. I kind of like that. But I heard Chris Simms say, Dad, what's the problem? And he's like, I see, what's your problem? And then I guess the wife and the daughters came up and said, no. But think about it. Joe Montana went to Kansas City and could not wear 16 because of Lynn Dawson. So he wore 19. Okay, no big deal.
Right.
But Peyton Manning went to Denver and Frank Dupuka had 18. Well, what's the problem with him wearing 16 that he wore at Tennessee? I mean, I just don't see the big deal.
I have to agree. I think, first of all, I think too many numbers are retired. I will say that. But
hello, New York Yankees.
Yeah, well fair enough.
That's right.
I set myself up for that one.
That's right. Good stuff
fair
there,
enough.
Steve.
But I do think too many numbers are retired. But I also think, I agree, Steve, as a player, and I know there's superstition to it. And, of course, we saw it famously play out with Jordan with 23 and 45 and all that. But, no, I think as a player, I'd never ask. Never. It would never even enter my mindset to ask someone who's so revered by that organization to have their number retired to get their number. I'll take another number. I'm just happy to be there. So I don't like that he even asked for it. I thought Lawrence Taylor handled it perfectly.
Yeah. I
really did, which I haven't said very often in my life, but I thought he was good. I'm sorry, I have ADD here. Let me ask you this, Steve, based on something I was watching on the television. Am I wrong in thinking that if you didn't know who he was, but yet you saw current-day Greg Popovich, you would run in terror from that man? He's a scary-looking dude.
I mean, there was a what's the actor's name that played Lurch in the Addams Family? He's from
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Who played basketball at Florida Southern. That's what Popovich reminds me of. He's just like a hulking guy.
I heard on the old Levitard.
I would never say anything without the word sir in it.
Yeah, right.
The old Levitard show said Greg Popovich looks like the kind of guy at the nursing home who bites the nurses. And I thought that was a perfect description of him.
I don't think he bites the nurses. I think he, eats the nurses in the neck. So, yeah, he just, I mean, the man, he's a scary individual.
Yeah, I'm sorry, great
And
coach.
one last thing about the retired numbers, the worst one to me in the world, the New Orleans Saints has 81 retired. Guess who for?
Is it Graham?
Nope.
No. I have no idea.
81?
Atkins, who went there for 1 year after playing for the Packers for 12 years.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. How you playing 1 year? Go ahead, Steve. Sorry.
It's like it's like the Tampa Bay Rays, or back then Devil Rays, signing Wade Boggs.
Yeah.
But when you get in the Hall of Fame, you have to go with our cap on.
Yeah.
Didn't he get paid $1 million to do that?
What's that?
Didn't the Rays pay him $1 million to do that?
I don't know. I was there in Tampa when when he was playing there. Got to see him play a couple of times, but I don't know if they paid him or not to do it. I think that's wild. I think there's too many retired numbers. I think, and that's crazy to me that you could play 12 years with the Packers, as what Steve's alluding to, and then you get your jersey retired by the New Orleans Saints. And like another thing, Cam Ward, he's going to be wearing number 1. Warren Moon is allowing him to wear that number. Not a big deal to me. My thing is if the player with the jersey who's been retired, if they offer like, Cam, if you want to wear one, you can, then we're good.
Right.
But if the player's asking, I think that's crazy. You're a rookie.
All right, let me ask you and Steve this,
All right.
because this is a slight variation on our discussion. Does it change in your mind the fact that Warren Moon never played for the Tennessee Titans? It was a Houston Oiler. Does it change it? I know it's the same organization.
Right.
Does it change it in your mind?
Steve, you go first.
Kenny Sabler and the Oakland Raiders, I guess it's okay to wear 12 now in Vegas, and I guess it was okay to wear in L.A.
Yeah.
So,
But even that's still the Raiders. This is a new town and team name.
Yeah,
it would be like a Baltimore Raven versus the old Cleveland Browns in my mind.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
For me, personally, not trying to dive too much into the weeds. No, it doesn't. Yeah. It doesn't change anything for me. Just because, yes, he didn't play for Tennessee, but we still wear those Houston Oilers jerseys.
Sure.
So to me, it doesn't really change anything. And if it's Warren Moon reaching out,
understand,
then that's one thing. But when the players are asking for it, I'm like, James, what do you think?
I'm not sure about this, but did Ozzie Newsome's 82 get retired in Cleveland?
If it didn't, it should have. And then, God Almighty, he was the GM for the Ravens forever.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. He could probably say, yeah, we're retired my own jersey, but he never did that.
Yeah. I don't
know. Because, I've seen 82 on the field a lot for the Ravens.
Yeah. Huh.
The number 82, Ozzie Newsome's with the Cleveland Browns, was not officially retired, but it was not used again after Newsome's retirement in 1990 until the Browns returned to the NFL in 1999. Nobody else wore the number before the Browns returned. Newsome wore 82 throughout his 13-season NFL career.
Yeah, that makes no sense to me.
I agree.
But didn't they
pick a lane? Come on.
But wasn't it part of the deal that when they moved the Browns from Cleveland to Baltimore, that would be basically treated like a quote-unquote expansion franchise, and all the stats and all the history would stay in Cleveland, and Baltimore was basically a brand new football team?
Yeah, I mean, it is unique because the Cleveland Browns in their second iteration came back. So that's a unique scenario, I guess. But
well, I work for the Mobile Bay Bears, the minor league team that played at Hank Aaron Stadium. They went there in spring training in '99, where the guys were picking their numbers, and one of the guys said 44. And I looked at the GM and was like, isn't that retired here? The stadium's named after the guy. Can't we just retire that?
That wasn't Sean Burrows, was it?
No, it was Rodrigo Lopez.
Okay, good.
Who ended up playing for the Padres.
Oh, there you go.
And back to Wade Boggs, the Devil Rays did not pay Wade Boggs to wear their hat on the Hall of Fame plaque. Obviously, he's wearing the Red Sox hat there, but I guess he said that could have been misconstrued in a conversation maybe he was having with Jose Canseco. He says this was, if I get in the Hall of Fame, I'm going in as a Devil Ray. So he says that's all just some made-up stuff. But if we had social media back then, if Twitter was alive and well back then, we would know. Well, maybe we'd be a little bit closer to the truth.
Yeah,
Steve.
Something like that.
Yeah, everyone goes to social media for truth.
Yeah, dude, come on. If you don't, then what are you doing? That way the truth is malleable.
If you don't read the Rebel Walk to read the truth about Ole Miss, why are you reading me?
There you go.
There you go, man. Steve Barnes, senior writer for therebelwalk.com. What do you think about this punishment for Sharon Moore here? He's the head coach for Michigan, right? They suspended Harbaugh, what was it, 6 total games, right? When he was the head coach there, Sharon took over as the interim coach. Then they, get into the whole stealing sign scandal. Scallions steps away from the program. Moore is fired from the program. And now Moore is looking at a 2-game suspension, which I guess is Michigan is putting that up to see, self-imposed, to see if the NCAA will accept that. However, it's not just the first 2 games of the season. They're letting him coach the first 2 games of the season. It's going to be week 3 and 4. He won't be able to coach practice how Harbaugh did. But, Steve, tell us your thoughts on what's going on with Sharon Moore's quote-unquote punishment.
All right, guys, you there?
Yeah.
There you are.
We're talking a little bit about Sharon Moore and want to get your thoughts on the quote-unquote punishment.
Well, I think it's like if let's say I ran a red light and they said it's a $30 ticket, but you can pay it when you want to. I think that's kind of messed up. And, the Central Michigan and the Nebraska game is the first 2. All right, why would he not want to miss those? That's going to be 2 pretty easy wins. That's not a punishment to me. It's like, Harbaugh missing the first 3, last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the only thing I could think is that he's purposely not picking kind of that because there was some blowback on Harbaugh missing those, and they were somewhat inconsequential games. So maybe the thought from Michigan is if we have him miss theoretically more consequential games, the NCAA is more likely not to add a third or whatever, or add other sanctions to it. I don't know if that'll happen.
What I'd like to see is the Big Ten step in and say, okay, you're going to miss the first 2 conference games.
Yeah. Which Nebraska would be one.
Nebraska is a conference game. Yeah, who do they have? Who's their first game?
Central Michigan.
Oh, I think Purdue comes up next. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it might be, because I know week 2 is Oklahoma, which is where Sharon Moore went to school.
Oh, that's right.
So week 3 is Central Michigan, and week 4 is Nebraska. But none of this has been confirmed by Michigan or the NCAA. Last I checked on that. But he won't be able to coach in practice, which, Harbaugh was allowed to. So, I really don't know what to make of this outside of if they're guilty, bam them. But then here's my other thing. Not just bam Sharon Moore, Michigan. Look into Alabama. Look into Florida. Like, there's no way that this was just one university's doing.
Hey, quit looking at Alabama. What are you doing, David?
Hey, if NIL and the transfer portal wasn't a thing, then I'd say no. Like, don't go looking any further. But the problem is this? It's so widespread. Don't you believe that, Steve?
Yeah.
I do, but I mean, you're gonna ban him from practice. I mean, I'm sorry, but I worked in. I worked in several athletics departments. I've covered several colleges. The head coach does not coach in practice. He coaches in the morning with the assistants. Then he stands on a tower and makes notes. So he's not down there like, here's how you do this, here's how you do that. That's not what's going on with the head coach. The head coach is an administrator.
Well, he won't be able to administrate.
Well, I don't know. Can he? Can he do it from the phone?
Yeah, I mean, these days, come on now. He could be flying around a drone from miles away just above.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what's stopping you in this day and age from, streaming the practice on YouTube?
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, wild age that we live in. You got anything else for Steve?
Connor Stallions would hack the YouTube.
Yeah, there you go. He's still coaching high school football, I believe.
Yeah, very poorly.
Yeah, he's doing a very poor job. They need to up that signal stealing over there. Hey, Steve, thanks so much for the time. As always, have a great rest of your afternoon, and tell us how much you love us.
Love you like fried chicken.
Ooh, dog, it makes me want to go get me a nice batch of fried chicken. You can bring it up here to the CBC Construction Studios, and we will devour it live here on the air. Steve, take care, bud.
Take care. I'll see y'all later.
We will chat with you next Monday at 5:20 as normal. We won't have Coach Brian Haddad. He will be in a book talking to us on
Viva Las Vegas.
Exactly right. Coming up next, it's time for the takeover, the PCB Hobby Takeover. And Coach Brian is going to lead us to our final segment of the afternoon. You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs right here on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Your attention, please.
ESPN Northwest Florida reminds you it's the law. It's the law. When there's a double red flag, stay out of the water, stick your toes in the sand, grab a cold drink, and listen to live sports.
Swung on, miss, strike 3.
On 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Double play!
Good evening. This is Joanna with your weather forecast from ESPN Northwest Florida on this Monday. Mostly clear tonight with a wind coming out of the north around 3 miles per hour and a low of 66. Tomorrow morning, look for some sun with a temperature near 79. The afternoon and evening, a high around 82 and some sun. Wednesday, quite warm with a high of 80 and mostly clouds in the morning, but otherwise very light rain. This weather forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Whether you're an experienced investor or first-time buyer, Beach House will provide you with top-notch service to guide you through every step of the process. We make the real estate process fun and easy through effective marketing, strategic advertising, and always a client-focused experience. From single-family homes to full-scale developments, Beach House Sales Development has you covered. Check them out at beachhousesalesfl.com or give them a call at 850-919-3500.
Is your restaurant looking a little tired from the long off season? Is your office a little offish? Start the new year off right by giving them a fresh start. Fresh Start Cleaning is now accepting new clients. Ask about their complimentary hood cleaning services. Fresh Start Cleaning. Get clean again with Fresh Start. Call 850-771-6917, 771-6917, and ask about their complimentary hood cleaning services.
For the 2025 Atlanta Braves, it's time to dial in, which means every game means a little more.
First pitch, ground ball right side. Diving stop by Ozzie. Got him. Whoa, what a play by Albies.
Tonight, the National League homestand continues for Matt Olson and the Braves as they kick off a series against the Cincinnati Reds.
The Reds are coming to town to take on the Braves. Coverage begins at 6 o'clock. First pitch, 6:15. Your home for the Braves on the Gulf Coast, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Now, we're live and local inside the CBC Construction Studios. The next evolution in sports talk radio. It's the Afternoon Underdogs.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Make it so. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
We're back with the afternoon. We are the Afternoon Underdogs. With the Afternoon Underdogs. We're just an all-encompassed underdog.
No, I got a bone to pick.
Okay, well, bones.
I heard that rejoiner with the whole Star Trek stuff, and that's fine. How dare we play that a day after May the 4th? Can't do that.
Well, I mean, some people just like better sci-fi.
That is the greatest nerd fight that exists. So I heard it.
No, he said maybe they just...
no, I heard it. I'm choosing not to go through the window.
Wow, this guy, he's being a bigger man today, isn't he?
This is the greatest nerd fight in history.
Yeah.
Do love it.
And Star Wars is infinitely better. So
there you go.
Just saying.
This is, I mean, that Star Wars versus Star Trek is kind of somewhat like Jake versus Logan Paul. You know what I mean? And they just...
That's an even worse comparison.
That's an even worse comparison.
I wouldn't even compare Star Trek to the Pauls.
But how awesome... They got like a whole show coming out.
Of course they do.
Paul American, I believe.
Of course
my goodness.
they do.
It is wild. But you like him in the WWE, don't you? Maybe not like him as...
Logan's okay. I mean, he can play the heel role beautifully because he's not acting.
Yeah, he's just being
But no,
true to himself.
he actually, for somebody who's a part-timer, he's actually extremely talented. He really is.
Well, no Todd or Julia with us this afternoon, but this is the PCB Hobby Takeover. So, Todd. So, Brian, tell us a little bit about what's going on over there. The latest
What's not
and greatest.
going on? My goodness. Weekend was jam-packed with excitement. Like I said, we had the Derby going on the TVs, but it was Free Comic Book Day.
Oh, nice.
May the 3rd was Free Comic Book Day. We had a ton of people come in, took advantage of that. A lot of different, comic books, Star Wars, Fantastic Four. They had, I mean, every kind of comic, but there were probably like 20 different ones, and the kids were really into that. Adults were really into that. It was cool. Beyond that, we had Kids Trade Day and Learn to Play Pokemon. So Professor Theron was teaching the kids and had a wonderful time. I mean, there were some times there where we had 30, 40 people in the shop at one time, which was great. A lot of good sports card pulls, a lot of people buying singles. At the same time, we had Ethan and Josh out in Dallas for the Dallas Card Show, which was fantastic. Picked up a ton of new inventory there. Some of it will be making its way to the shop. A lot of it will be on Josh's stream on eBay Live, which is actually going on right now every weekday. So a lot of stuff there. Ethan picked up a lot of TCG for the stream. And then, of course, yesterday on Sunday, we did our May the 4th Star Wars collectible stream. We try and do one of those about once a month.
But you had to do it on May 4th.
We had to do it on May 4th. Unfortunately, Big Kern, our comic streamer who's been in here with us before, he was not able to be there. He was in Vegas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was dropping all the money that I'm going to win.
There you go.
But
y'all switching, trading spaces
there. You go. But he actually came in the chat and was talking with us. So we ran it without Kern, but did a great job. Bill streamed for a while. Tim streamed for a while. I was kind of there in support, helping find things and stuff like that for requests. So it was a good time. And then, of course, this week is going to be just as packed. We got a bunch of new stuff in this week. We have Phoenix Football Blasters, which have been very hot. Great product there. We have Prism English Premier League Soccer, which is going to be one of the last Panini products for English Premier League because Fanatics just acquired the license. So they're going to pick it up in June. So this will be the last Prism for Premier League soccer. And so a lot of the... I know a lot of our listeners actually watch that because NBC carries it and all that. So that is in the shop right now and live. And there's actually 2 products that will drop on Wednesday. Number 1 is V Friends Topps Chrome. Gary V, the influencer, who I know very little about, but it is a big... But
you met him, right?
I didn't. Bill met him.
Okay, gotcha.
I've seen him, but that's a little bit past my time. But I know he's extremely popular, and he's got a big thing going with his V Friends franchise, and Topps Chrome has cards on that. Those drop on Wednesday, and then of course the one I've been talking about for a month, Bowman Baseball, and it is in shop. We do have it. We cannot sell it until Wednesday. But we do have it. It is landed, and that's going to be a very, very big day. So make sure you get there on Wednesday to get Bowman going after all the new prospects and everything like that. So that's going to be great. And then to top it all off, this coming Saturday is Super Saturday. So if the Bowman makes it all the way to Saturday, you can get 10% off all sealed wax and sealed product on Saturday. And we'll also have the wheel out there for, I think it's $75 in sealed product. You get to spin the wheel for additional prizes and check out all the new inventory that is there. So had a busy weekend, got an even busier week. So it's going to be something else over there at PCB Hobby.
And you can always go to PCBHobby.com to check on the latest and greatest happenings. They do a great job keeping this calendar up to date. And for all social media purposes, you can just type in PCB Hobby and eBay Live as well, PCB Hobby, right? Thursday night, they got Lorcana League, Magic, and One Piece. Then on Friday night, you have the Magic Commander League and Magic Legacy. And then Saturday from 10 to 6, as you mentioned, Super Saturday. Great time. And then from 12 to 6, you're going to have the Lorcana Set Championship. James, do you have something to add?
For the new Bowman coming out, is this the set that's going to have the kanji cards for the Japanese players that look like they're on the 1955 cards?
I have not seen for sure on that. They do have a thing called animes. Which are on the 1955 court. It looks like the television set.
Yeah, it looks like the old wood television set.
Yeah, they've called them animes. They may have changed. Kanji, I thought, was the ones where they used the Japanese script as well, because they've done that with Shohei cards in the past. But they are doing animes again. They are also doing a new thing. Fanatics announced it. It's called the Red Rookie Redemptions. And so, as you know, the rookie card shield on the cards is typically blue. It looks the same every year. Well, there are going to be some very short printed redemptions that are red on the rookie card shield. And it's going to work in a similar fashion to the way the buyback program has worked. So, for example, if you have one of those rookie red shields and your guy wins the Rookie of the Year, then you can turn that in. I don't know how they're going to do it. You may have to submit it. It may go through a shop. But it's going to be for, I believe, $100 in Fanatics cash or maybe something along those lines. If you hold on to it and your guy gets Rookie of the Year and then wins an MVP, then you could cash it in at that point down the line. I think it's $200. And then it keeps escalating to where if you decided to hold it and they won Rookie of the Year, an MVP, and Hall of Fame, I think it's up to like $750 or $1,000. I would imagine most people will cash in.
That's like a 20-year hold, though.
Exactly. So I think most people are going to cash in. By then, $1,000 will be worth $100 now. So
yeah, might as well go.
I think most people will do the Rookie of the Year, but it's another one of those cool redemption deals and buyback deals that they're doing. So it's another chase. You got all the first Bowmans, Georgia fans. This is where Charlie Condon's first Bowman is going to be for the Colorado Rockies. So that will be coming out here, and a lot of guys to chase and a lot of fun to be had.
You know what, PCB Hobby, did you have something else, James?
No, that's all I got.
All right, didn't want to cut you off there. Something else that PCB Hobby could do, this is just, theorizing over here, but what about making custom cards? Do they do that?
No, there are some entities out there that have done that, and they're kind of fun. And They don't hold a lot of value long term. Is kind of the thing. I mean,
I was talking about more like you could go in there if you're a baseball player, like a youth baseball player, and bring a picture to them, and then they make a card for you.
There are actually companies that do that now. A lot of times you'll get that at like the opening jamborees,
right?
At the parks where they'll take your picture and you get a little card. I think I still have some of mine from the 80s.
I always wanted that. We couldn't afford it.
But it's interesting you bring that up because I just thought about it because we actually have comic artists on staff.
Yeah.
That would actually be kind of neat. They could do kind of caricature.
Give me a little credit on that one side.
Maybe we'll get a little captain rookie card there, from somebody. But no, I think it'd be neat. But yeah, custom cards, I mean, they're fun. They're great for collecting. I would say they don't typically hold a lot of value because they're not generally nationally distributed kind of things.
I had one. I made one for my dad once. Just did it myself because I ordered a bobblehead for him. And I gave him a bobblehead and a baseball card one birthday.
That's a great idea, which it is, Cinco de Mayo today, but more importantly, Mother's Day is coming up this week, so make sure that you, spend some time with your mama. If you can't spend time, send her some flowers or a great gift. I think we have... I don't know who I know I do the commercial, but I can't think of who it is. It's the commercial that I do here that says flowers.
Don't keep digging.
Flowers. Yeah, I know. So while we're in this garden, we're going to dig right on out of it. What's your opinion on the current state of the hobby, Brian and James? I'll also flick that dirt out.
Exactly.
I love you guys.
It's really a tough answer. It's interesting. I mean, things are... I like what Fanatics is bringing. I mean, there are always things you can complain about, little things, this, that, or the other. I like what Fanatics is bringing. I think they have some great marketing ideas. Some of their buybacks and redemptions have been really cool. They're really doing a good job. Fanatics always been better with game used material, on-card autographs, which I think is a good thing. You can always argue prices are kind of, we do that with everything. We always say, milk costs too much, eggs cost too much, this costs too much, cars cost too much, whatever. So it's a legitimate argument, but you can make it about everything, so it's kind of tough. But I think that overall, it's really solid because I think right now we're at a pretty cool time in sports. NBA playoff time obviously brings in a lot of interest. Football has never been more popular. Baseball is seeing a resurgence in youth talent I have not seen in probably 30 years.
Yeah.
So I think
awesome
it's great for the game of baseball. It's bringing a lot of people back in. Hockey is becoming more and more mainstream in the United States. Soccer is becoming mainstream. UFC is blowing up. So there's a lot of new properties out there for people to get into that I absolutely think are great. There are some tweaks that need to be made. I think there is possibly a few too many products within each sport. We need to trim that down a little bit. And we definitely don't need to do so many different parallels of each player because I think the days of trying to be a super collector and collect every card you can of a certain player is getting harder and harder. So I would love to see that be achievable again to where maybe we don't have 64 different variances in Prism, but maybe like 30. Something that's a little more achievable. But overall, health of the hobby is pretty darn good.
Michigan Eddie, you're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. We are up against a break, so keep it short here, brother.
Oh, yeah, real quick. Anyway, when PCB first opened up, Brian just started working there and all that. And one of Eddie's favorite players was Pierre Alonso. I bought him an autographed rookie. I said, should we autograph it? And Captain Todd said at the time, no, not yet. Hold off. Well, I just turned that same card I at PCB Hobby 3 or 4 years ago today to get graded. So I just want to let them know it's a family-run business. It's awesome. Love you guys. I'm out. See you, go Blue. Tigers, baby. I'm out.
Hey, there you go. Great testimonial from a great human being right there. PC, I mean, it really is. We talk about this all the time with Golf Plus and PCB Hobby. You've got staff that cares at these places, and they'll take care of you, man. You just get and they're really cool establishments. Why you haven't been there? If you're listening right now, you haven't been there. Go right now. Turn around and get to PCB Hobby.
Let me add one quick thing because this happens a lot. And
quickly, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
That's fine. Yeah. Yeah, I'll get right on that. No, there are times in everything where you hear, oh, well, it's about to go bust. And they all go, it's going to go bust. Well, I heard that in the 80s. I heard it in the 90s. I heard it in the 2000s. I heard it in this. And look, there are times where it ebbs and flows, and it does pull back and this, that, or the other. When eBay came on, it changed everything, and it dipped, and then it came back, and then, this, that, or the other happened, and then COVID happened, and it came back. And then after COVID, it was going to be, everything's going to zero because it was artificially inflated, and no, it's back. The point is, as long as people enjoy sports and enjoy collecting, which they have from the dawn of the Athens Olympics, I mean the real one, not 1896. As long as that exists, there's always going to be a market for this stuff. It's always, and it will just adapt and, evolve over time. So this notion that, everything's going to bust, and those are the sky is falling people who I just generally hate listening to. Things will adjust and things will get better.
Shake that hand.
That is way more positive than I've ever been about anything in my life, by the way.
That is a great point. A great guy in Coach Brian Haddad. A great guy in James Fife. I'm David Hayes. We're the Afternoon Underdogs. We're going to dive into local and best and worst of the weekend when we get back. Our final segment here on this wonderful Monday afternoon.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
The Atlanta Braves play here.
Tonight, the Atlanta Braves continue their homestand at Truist Park.
Riley charges one up, soaring high into the heavens and disappearing into the seats.
It's the Braves versus the Cincinnati Reds. First pitch, 6:15. Listen to live play-by-play and a rich audio experience on your home for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Ellis Agency Insurance has been serving Panama City and Bay County for years. They offer a full line of affordable insurance coverage of all types. Many people are attracted to Ellis Agency Insurance because of their friendly, knowledgeable staff. Call independent agent Johnny Ellis for a true comparison of your personal or business insurance. Ellis Agency Insurance at the Old Cullen Insurance location, 1134 Harrison Avenue, across from Dandy Donuts and Deli. Call 763-1627.
Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison.
You found us inside the CBC Construction Studios. Karen bought 83 liters of Dr. Thunder, a suitcase full of Cheez-Its, and a drum of Crisco. Now she's crying about using the self-check at Walmart.
Maybe we should speak to a manager or something.
Just saying. ESPN Northwest Florida.
What is going on Northwest Florida? You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. David Hayes here along with Coach Brian Haddad and James Fife. We're live and local from the CBC Construction Studios. You can go to cbcconstruction.com or give them a call at 850-747-3815. Also want to remind you guys, as we are about a little less than a month away from the 4th annual Pops Pig Pickin' Barbecue. All proceeds will go to benefit hurricane relief, which obviously by the time we get to June, we'll be getting a little bit closer there, and he'll hold on to this. And so unless he's already got something in mind, we'll talk with Chef Ross. I believe he'll be on with me and James next Monday. But all proceeds go to benefit hurricane relief. Dinner tickets are $20. Pool tournament is going to be starting at 1 p.m. That is $15. And this is in honor of Chef Ross's dad, Ron Pops Robinson. This will be Saturday, June 14th from 12 to 6 p.m. at the Break Room, 2727 Joan Avenue. We'll have more about that as we get closer to the date. This is our best and worst of the weekend segment here. So if you've got one, text it in or call it in to 850-215-6290. We've got some games going on this evening. Port St. Joe, they're 17-10. This is postseason high school baseball here. They're taking on Cottondale, who's 17-11 in Cottondale, and that game will have the first pitch at 6:30. Bozeman is taking on Trinity Christian Academy. They're 26-6. Bozeman is taking on 27-4 Trinity Christian Academy out of the Jacksonville area. They start at 7 p.m. Arnold is hosting Clay, 25-7, and Clay is 22-9. I'm actually just going back to Max Preps real quick and make sure that I'm not giving people false dates on this, because sometimes, okay, yes, these games are going on.
Trust me, they get it wrong as much as anybody.
Well, not just that, but sometimes I'll overlook the fact that there's no games on this day.
Yeah.
Right? And so it'll actually be a further date. But yeah, Bozeman Trinity Christian Academy, 7 p.m. South Walton, man, there's some studs, 28-3. They're taking on Sewanee, who's 23-8. They'll get underway at 7 p.m. Holmes County, 22-4, taking on 17-11 J at 7 p.m. And then Arnold is 25-7. They're taking on Clay, 22-9 at 7 p.m. Softball will be getting underway tomorrow evening. And also, we've got the Gulf Coast State College Commodore baseball team. They beat Miami-Dade in a 3-game series to move further into regional play. They're going to be taking on Central Florida in Port Charlotte. That'll be Friday at 4 p.m. And then also out of Rutherford, I'm going to try this here. I told myself call Coach Olds before the show starts here, but Mganta and Bene Awantang made Rutherford High School and Bay County history. They won the FHSAA Class 2A tennis doubles state championship. Before the Awantang sisters, there was no Bay County tennis players that have ever won a state title. Mganta in 10th grade and Bine in 8th grade were the youngest duo competing in the Class 2A championships, and they first qualified for state back in 2023. The highest finish for a Bay County tennis player prior to the Awantang sisters was Rutherford's Isabel Sadeli in singles back in 2019. So some great stuff there. Congratulations. I mean, to be the only ones to hoist a title and to do it for the Rutherford Rams is absolutely special. So congratulations to the Awantang sisters. Hopefully Gulf Coast keeps it rolling, and our other local Bay County high school teams. Man, that goal gets me every time watching the replay of the Winnipeg Jets winner against the St. Louis Blues last night.
Beauty of a tip, and I tell you.
Yes, it was,
straight across to the front, and that's sitting right there in the slot. You are not going to do anything about it.
Well, let's rapid fire through the series that we have left, James, and then we'll get to best and worst. And no, I'm not going to do that. That's how we get off track. It's my fault. That's how we get off track every time. It's just, all right, let's do this instead. All right, best and worst of the weekend, 850-215-6290. Bo Green says his best. FSU took the series against Clemson in baseball, top 5 showdown, which I believe was it Friday night or Saturday evening. Florida State had the lead. I believe it was 4-1, maybe, might have been 3-1, and they were in the top of the 8th. Clemson takes the lead, and it goes up 4-3, and then the rain delay happened. So I don't know what ended up happening with that game, but it was a heck of a series between FSU and Clemson. Bo's worst, the Braves just can't seem to win games this year. Well, my friend, we won last night.
The Dodgers.
That's a great point.
The Dodgers.
Yeah, playing the Dodgers, which the losing streak prior to last night goes back 7 games all the way to the end of last year's season. And hey, Austin Riley's on fire right now. Ronald Acuna Jr. is going to be coming back. We've got a good problem in the outfield right now with all the guys that we brought in prior to the season outside of Eli White. They're not. I mean, Brian De La Cruz, we DFA'd him. The Yankees have him now. You've got Jurickson Profar, 80-game suspension.
Idiot.
And then Jared Kelnick has been optioned down. So now you got Eli White and Alex Verdugo battling out, and they've also added back Eddie Rosario. So I think things are looking up. If you've been watching the Braves a little bit lately, a little bit more lately, things have been starting to pick up steam. Morgan, who was on the show with Coach Haddad on Thursday and also with the guys on Friday, and she only has the best, no worst. Texas gets gets swept
on
the road. Who did Texas have this week?
Arkansas.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
who actually was coming off a rough series. That was big for Arkansas. They swept Texas, Texas had only lost 2 SEC games coming into it and lost 3 in one weekend. So
wow, man, good stuff. Always nice to see Texas falling a little bit there. Ken McVeigh says Gulf Coast State College winning best of 3 series to advance to the JUCO baseball Final Four this week in Port Charlotte. That's great stuff there, and Ken McVeigh does a great job calling the games for Gulf Coast. So maybe try to get him on as well as Coach Younger before they head down to Port Charlotte. So try to make that happen either tomorrow or Thursday. Johnny Yankee Seed says best is Judge seems outer worldly with these video game numbers he's putting up. What'd you say the average was? 423?
Yeah, so
that's stupid.
Second place is in the 340s, and somehow it's both Paul Goldschmidt and Pete Alonso. So can you imagine hitting the trifecta of those 3 leading Major League Baseball in batting average?
Right. And batting average, especially when you say the name Pete Alonso.
Yeah, I mean, home runs, okay.
Yeah,
you know, but I mean, it's crazy. But yeah, Judge is like almost 70 full points clear of second place. It's incredible.
We've got, let's see, his worst, Johnny Yankee Seed, which he'll be on with us Friday previewing the next UFC event, which I got to get Johnny Yankee Seed to one of the beatdown at the beaches here because he's a huge MMA fan, but I want him to be able to see up close and personal what Impact Fight League brings to the table. Max DeLayden says best, the Cubs are playing great baseball and are far and away. Wait, did I even say the worst for Johnny Yankee Seed? Worst is Bo Nickel losing he was undefeated. UFC top prospects are having a rough 2025. More from Johnny Yankee Seed this Friday. From Max DeLayden, best, the Cubs are playing great baseball and are far and away the best team in their division. Agree or disagree with the NL Central, right? Cubs are far and away the best team.
Right now, yeah.
Right now, but there's
absolutely.
long
Still
way
a long
to go.
season left to go.
Worst, Shota Imanaga injured and LeBron milking his phantom injury. Nick Baldwin replies to the Cubs. He says, I second the Cubs. They're just fun to watch. Josh Tucker, huge St. Louis Blues fan. He says, best, FSU boys taking the series versus number 3 Clemson. And then the worst, Jets tying game Game 7 with less than 2 seconds left and ending his St. Louis Blues season in double OT.
That was a fun watch, man. That was a fun watch.
Man,
if you're a fan of those teams, I feel bad for you, but for everybody else that just loves walking hockey, that was a fun watch.
I love it, man. It takes me back to when the Lightning were on their run. You know, it seemed like every other game was going to overtime, and you can't forget before it all started, the 5 overtime thriller against Columbus. I believe that was before it started. Actually, it might have been the year that they won the first cup in 2020. Yeah, because the year prior to that, that's right, because Columbus had swept the Blue Jackets swept the Lightning the year prior to that in 2019. And then the final one from J.D. Muzinski, who's also with Impact Fight League. He says, best of today, hearing David Hayes on the radio.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, great to be back with you guys. No doubt about that. All right, for you guys, best. Let's just go through the best, and then we'll go through the worst. For me, it's being a Pacers fan. The Pacers have been kind of called. I feel like they're underrated. A lot of people say that they're overrated. But for them to, I'm not saying that they're a better team than the Cavaliers, but they played their game last night. The Cavaliers dealing with some injuries. No doubt Darius Garland not being in the lineup is a huge ordeal. However, the Pacers outshined them defensively last night. That's one thing. Everyone's talking about the mismatch in threes, but the defense that the Pacers were playing, blocking, stealing, all of that good stuff, it was fun. The NBA playoffs, I will say, have been pretty good. Obviously, NHL playoffs, they are a beast of their own, but the NBA playoffs have been a lot of fun. That's my best. Pacers winning Game 1 in Cleveland.
All right, I'll go with my best. My best of the weekend, of course, is that Game 7 into the double overtime, getting the game tied with less than 2 seconds left, 1.6 seconds on the clock. Oh, beauty of a watch. I enjoyed that. And watching the Padres right now on their 5-game win streak, just dominating. Everybody is good for baseball out on the West Coast and is making that NL West even more entertaining than it already is. And I got a best of today. I usually know the trivia questions. I did not know the answer to this one, but my loving wife texted me in. She knows the answer.
Give us the answer since we're at the end of the show.
All right. So the answer is from my wife. The race was in 1997, and it was Silver Charm.
100% correct. Yes, sir, man. 6 Kentucky Derby winners that we've had, and Coach Brian was bringing up that he was...
Nearly won the Triple Crown, won the Derby, the Preakness, and finished 3/4 of a length short in second to winning the Belmont.
That's as close as you can get.
That's right.
What about a best from you, Coach?
I actually have 2, if you can believe it, on this positive day. How about Mississippi State, undefeated since the move to fire Chris Lamona, swept Kentucky. That's right, Wildcat, swept Kentucky. So that was a big one. But my real best of the weekend, we got 3 area high school teams making a run at the playoffs. 2 big wins, Arnold and Bozeman getting must wins to further their trip in the playoffs. Hopefully we're going to get all 3 of them down in Fort Myers.
James, do you have a worst? We're going to skip over myself because I'm trying to think of one right now.
My worst is just the Pirates over the last 2 weeks going 2-8 now.
Yeah. You know what my worst is going to be? We'll bring it back to the Pacers. Last night I had a little $5 parlay to win like $80. Pacers to win. Halliburton over 10.5 assists. He got that. And then Pascal Siakam needed 2 more rebounds, and he was unable to get that. Coach had at a worst?
Joey Logano.
Last week it was his best because he got essentially 100%. Disqualified after the race was over for having a missing lug on his spoiler, I believe, or a missing lug nut on his spoiler.
He had a missing tire on his car.
Yeah, not so much this week. He got the dub over there at Texas Motor Speedway. Hey, y'all have a great rest of your evening. Just remember, Jesus loves you. So do I. So much for James Fife, Coach Haddad, David Hayes, Afternoon Underdogs. Y'all take care. And
Joey Logano stinks.
Weather in the Panhandle never stops. Turn to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with your latest forecast.
Up to the minute weather reports all